meets the key. Night with Phee.
Welcome, guys, to another Night with Phee right here on the Phee Smee Network. I certainly appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. Hit that share button, like us, follow us, do whatever you can to help us at the Phee Smee Network. Topics tonight include the Synagogue of Satan, Christians under attack, the nation of Israel, and artificial shrimp right here, right now on Night with Phee. I do appreciate you guys tuning in to the Phee Smee Network tonight. Go back and look at all of our podcasts and shows if you have time. It would be well worth your time to do so. Before we get into the hard topics of tonight, we will get into the riddles of theology. The riddles of theology. First riddle of the night. A man and his boss have the same parents but are not siblings. How is this possible? A man and his boss have the same parents, but are not siblings. How is this possible? I do appreciate you guys playing the riddles of theology on Night with Phee. Last time, a man and his boss have the same parents, but are not siblings. How is this possible? If you said he is self-employed, you would be correct. Thank you guys for playing the riddles of theology. Riddle number 2. What two keys can't open any door? What two keys can't open any door? Oh, baby. What do you guys think? Two keys that can't open a door. If you have the correct answer, it would be a monkey and a donkey. I used to have a monkey, and he could not open the door, but I guarantee you there are some monkeys that can. I even know dogs that can. Last riddle of theology. What is black when it's clean and white when it's dirty? An oldie but a goodie for you youngsters.
Back in the day, on fancy schmancy telephones, we had cords and we liked it.
What is black when it's clean and white when it's dirty? The correct answer, boys and girls, would be a chalkboard. Thank you for doing business with Phee on the Phee Smee Network and the riddles of theology. Well, we'll get into Christians under attack. You know, we have a real problem here with Christians. It's because nobody believes that we're going to have any problems. The Muslim, the communist, the Buddhist, they hate America, and they hate the Jews. But the Christians here in the United States, they're fighting amongst themselves, whether it's post-trib or pre-trib. They've actually believe in their hearts that the church is doing so well right now that my Lord's going to rapture them out, and that's going to remove his bride and allow the Antichrist to come. They're not prepared. They don't even know they're at war with anybody else because they're too busy at war with themselves. They are a fractured body of Christ, and as the basic instructions before leaving earth will tell you, a divided heart, a divided country, a divided marriage will not stand. So as you see here, you're going to see two clips. One of them shows you that why I don't like to say the word Christian, because it's very overused. And why I don't think that just because you go to church that you you're not bothering Satan whatsoever. As long as he can keep you in the world more than the word, he can just give you your own little problems to deal with. And most of the time, people have more problems to deal with than they can shake a stick at. So pay attention to this preacher as we get started tonight.
Now, I've seen some crazy things said behind the pulpit, but this may beat them all, ladies and gentlemen. Listen to what this fake minister says.
If Jesus were here today, he would be a clinic escort, distracting women from the hatred of the protesters, or an abortion doula, holding women's hands and offering support and love as they end their pregnancies. And I expect he would have a stern word for self-righteous legislators who use abortion as a political issue rather than showing compassion for the people seeking abortions. Today, on this Rose Sunday, I wanted to share some of the stories we have collected because these are the sacred stories of women's lives. If Jesus were giving his sermon today, he might also have said, "Blessed are those who end pregnancies,
Wow.
for they will be known for their loving kindness." I have been pregnant 4 times. I have had 2 abortions, and I have 2 amazing children. Each of my reproductive decisions, to have children and not to have children, were sacred decisions because they reflect the moral responsibility of reproductive power that is part of our inheritance as human creatures. Each of you has a reproductive story. And given that 1/4 of American women will have an abortion by the age of 45, I imagine some of your reproductive journeys.
She just said Jesus.
Well, that is surprising to some of you, but it shouldn't be. My father allowed me to go to different denominations and different churches when I was growing up. He encouraged it. So I've been in Catholic churches, been to several Catholic weddings, been Assembly of God, Pentecostal, Baptist, Methodist, Church of Christ, Lutheran, Episcopalian, Church of God in Christ. Just been to a lot of them. And since my vision, I've been to some Jewish Christian churches in America. But I will not go into a mosque, and nor am I interested in going into a Buddhist temple. But Christians are under attack by the world. They've infiltrated your country. They're moving to a socialist, communist government. They're going to have all the young people that are born now to 25, they've been conditioning them to be a socialist, loving all parties. Everybody's got their equal rights, free borders. You know, America made it 250 years. Let's see if we get to July the 4th without civil war, because civil war is coming. The narrative now, MSNBC on one TV, CNN on the other, Fox on the other. I've had 3 TVs since I was 17, and mostly for sports. Now it's for what I'm doing. Bottom line is, the narrative's there. They've got prison camps. They've got 70,000 that are already being detained. They're not getting their rights. They're not being able to have a hearing. That's their whole narrative. And they're turning these Epstein files and the redacted files and now all of this stuff. They're just going to continue to draw the narrative. It's not a hatred of Trump as much as it is a hatred of the ideologies of us having closed borders and sovereignty. These people are owned all by globalists. And as we get into this more, you're going to see that they're working together and our intelligence is aware of it, or we'd already be in trouble. But it's going to take a false flag. It's going to take some killings. It's going to take some massacres to continue to, because it's getting stale. Now they've gone back to the Epstein. See, I've got pictures here of 30,000 people going out in Minnesota wind chill factor of minus 40. Nobody's talking about those videos anymore. That's old news. See? Now it's something else. They just keep moving you to the next one, and before you know it, another year's gone by and they've accomplished their goal. Take a look at what China and the rest of the folks that are working, but like Biden, who gives $30 million to a boy that has no expertise in what he's getting paid for to advise? And how does a weather balloon supposedly go across the whole continental United States without them blowing it up over Alaska like your generals wanted to? Very strange as things keep moving through. Take a look.
They believe, and they say this openly, this is not me saying it, that they are at war with the Christian civilization of the United States with its emphasis on individual rights. So they have carried out a series of policies, birth tourism that's happening on a massive scale that has horrifying national security implications for us when you start to look at the actual numbers involved.
There you go, right there. Biden, Obama, and we'll keep going. That's the kind of thing what you're looking at. You've got internal problems. You've got inside the United States of America, you've got, this is not being a Republican or a Democrat. This is not being a liberal or a conservative. That's what they want you to believe. That's the Pepsi and the Coke machine. It's the globalists that are embedded in your government and in your media and in Hollywood that controls your banking and your food and water supplies. That's one side. The other side is, hey, let's get as much money from these folks that have been screwing us for 30 years on export imports. Let's do some tariffs. Let's try to get out of this inflationary period that was at our 40-year high. And it's going to get worse before it gets better. And they're going to make sure that it never gets a lot better before this stuff continues on. Because now they've got a year in, and he couldn't fix what they did in the last 16 years out of 20 in a year. He's trying. They want to complain that he's got 70,000 people in a detention center. There's 70,000 illegal immigrants that came into our country illegally. But they want them to have the rights. I don't know why we hold them anywhere. Why wouldn't we just put them on a plane and send them back? I guess that would be too easy. What you're looking at here, folks, is a serious problem. Your Christians are under attack. Your white nationalists are under attack. Your Jewish people are under attack. The whole world is going to come against the Jews. And the United States of America is going to be split about 60-40 against them too. And there's death and destruction coming. Because the Islamic jihads that are controlling these socialists and with the help of communist China, they're formidable upon it. They've got weaponry. They've got AI weapons. They've got invisible bombs. They've got sleeper cells anywhere between 150 and 1,500 events separately that will take place in your country. Chinese supposed to have 400,000 people in here, and 200,000 been here for years. Islam Jihad is supposed to have 30,000 plus in here. Do you not think they're going to be a whole lot more organized when this takes place than we are? We've got to pay attention and make sure we're prepared and quit fighting amongst yourselves. They've got you over 200 years. They've got you so divided that you don't even think you serve the right God. This one's going to hell. This one's not going to hell. We were the only ones going to hell. We're the only ones going to heaven. These folks think, once saved, always saved. These folks think if you die and say a cuss word, you're going to hell. It just goes from one end of the spectrum. So much legalistic stuff, so much commercialization. They used to feed the poor. They used to, care for the homeless, shelter them. Every one of these hospitals was named after denominations because they used to help people. Now it's a real big business. It's number two. Oh, behind pharmacy and AI now. Number two, healthcare. Encompasses all your stuff. Christians are under attack in America. Your media outlets aren't talking about it. You ain't going to have but one that ever will, unless they're talking bad or negative about it. These people want bad things for you, and you're unaware. You don't believe it. You think that's going to just happen in the big cities, or you think it's not going to happen to your southern states. Folks, I've seen it. The United States of America will never function, and it will never look like it did before this is over. When World War III comes, after this Civil War, or during this Civil War that we're going to have, death and destruction. Revelations 9:13 will tell you a third of mankind will be gone. And the United States is a great place to live. But you're looking at 1865. And the folks that are prepared, all these militant groups with all these weapons and guns and ammo, are a whole lot more prepared than First Baptist Dallas. So understand, while you're playing and busy, there's a war against Christians in your country. And before it's over, the whole world's going to hate the Jews. And they already hate Americans and Christians. They're not here to help you. They've played the long game for this exact time period. You think they was going to line up in the Atlantic and the Pacific and shoot missiles at ours with our Navy out there? They did it the right way. The Chinese are intelligent folks. They did it over a 50-year period. And the Islamic Jihads have been planning this since 2001. They're well financed with $100 billion from Obama, rubber stamped by Biden. Qatar, largest terrorist sponsor in the world with money. Iran, largest militant proxies. Hamas, Hezbollah, Muslim Brotherhood. Pay attention to what's going on and quit only watching your Fox, because MS Now and CNN are crushing the United States of America. Their whole narrative is that we got to fight. We got to come. We've got to dismantle it, everything. Let's get rid of every member of the Congress, every member of the Senate. Let's get rid of all the executive branch and start over. These prison camps make it sound like Nazis. They make it sound like Hitler. This aggression across the country. The narrative, they're shaping it right before your eyes. They're just deep embedded in your country. And now you got the Synagogue of Satan, which I've told you time and time and time again. My Lord talks about it nonstop in the Word of God. In the basic instructions before leaving earth, He continually tells you over and over and over. This Epstein, like I told you, we're going to bring it home on it, not a child trafficking. We're going to bring it home with what these folks are doing to children. So I want you first to hear and look in his eyes when he's talking. Don't pay attention as much to his mouth. Look at his eyes and listen. That's all you'll need to do is look at his eyes and listen.
I know in my case,
Is your money dirty money?
if you live,
I just asked a question. Is your money dirty money?
no, it's not. So in fact,
Why is it not dirty money?
because I earned it,
But you earned it.
I earned it legally.
We went back to this before. You earned
Yes.
it. You earned it advising the worst people in the world, right, that do enormous bad things, and just to make more money.
So, instead of asking me the question, should you take the money? Because I think it's a legitimate question.
Do you think it's a legitimate question?
Yes, no
Why?
question. Because ethics is always a complicated subject, but I can tell you that with the money I gave to help try to eradicate polio in Pakistan and India, instead of asking me whether that money should be given to these children for vaccines, I think you might want to ask their mothers who received the vaccine, who know their child now won't get polio, and ask them if Epstein should have helped these people. You're a mathematician.
If we walked into that clinic where they're giving that money out to these people that are in the most dire straits of poverty and sickness, and told them that the money was coming from class 3 sexual predator?
Tier 1.
Tier 1's the highest and worst?
No,
I'm the lowest. You're
yes.
the lowest. Okay, tier 1, you're the lowest. But a criminal.
Yes.
That the money came from them. What percentage of people do you estimate? I understand you don't like probabilities. Do you estimate would say, I don't care, I want the money for my children?
I would say everyone said, I want the money for my children.
Did they know where the money came from?
I think if you told them,
I told them
the devil,
100%.
the devil
himself.
The devil himself said, I'm going to exchange some dollars for your child's life.
Do you think you're the devil himself?
No, but I do have a good mirror.
It's a serious question. Do you think you're the devil himself?
I don't know. Why would you say that?
Because you have all the attributes. You're incredibly smart. You remember, the devil is
Was
somebody
the devil
knows.
Smart?
The devil's brilliant. You read Milton's Paradise Lost.
No, the devil scares me.
Satan is at the number 1 or 2 archangel, and the reason he goes to hell and leads the rebellion is because he can't be the top guy. And his thing is, I'd rather reign in hell than serve in heaven.
I saw that in a movie once called American Dharma. I don't remember who said it. Okay, we have to go.
Okay, good.
What do you think about his eyes? Boy, I tell you what, he's happy, he's excited. He's not the least bit nervous. You could see his breath there. When people are asking if you're the devil, he just, why do you ask that? Instead of, wanting to focus on the sex trafficking and the kids, he gave, so much money for the folks in a foreign country to get polio shots. And he believes that if the devil himself would help eradicate polio, then it would be worth it. That's it's interesting. But this is more interesting. This is a long clip, and I hope that you guys will sit down and focus on this clip, because this is a legitimate, been in business for 30 years, has 500,000 people a day watching his show live. Okay, he knows what he's talking about. He's well connected. All right, I have no connections. I talk to nobody. I don't know any of them. So I'm just a little ahead of them. But what this guy's telling you and what he's going to show you here is legit. So no matter what it sounds like, focus on it. Let me coach you and tell you now. Pay attention and watch, and you'll learn something. So clear your mind and take a look. Because this is the real deal.
It's great to have you here with us today. Where do you want to start? Because there's so many places.
Well, thank you for having me. I think hell's freezing over because Pizzagate's going mainstream, and we're finally doing an interview together. If you want to start at the beginning with the Podesta emails, we can go back to 2016, but it's totally up to you.
Yeah, let's do that. Pull up. We're going to deliver you the 7, 9, and 11-year-old for your entertainment. To the wooded facility with the hot tub. Yeah, let's start there.
That's a good one.
So you've got the floor. Go ahead, tell us about it.
Okay. So in 2016, the Podesta emails came out, and as you know, and this was right before the election in October, and they were released by WikiLeaks, and Julian Assange runs WikiLeaks, right? Now, in those emails, they were littered with code words, and many of those code words were pizza or food related, and they were not used in a context that applies to food. So people like me and yourself started researching this, and we started researching the people that were sending these emails and what they were into, and we discovered that it was, after doing the research, it was clear as day that these people are involved in child sex trafficking. But I want to say that in 2016, when these emails were released, it was known in the pedophile community, I guess you'd say, that pizza was a pedophile code word. And there was actually evidence of it on the internet in 2016. And what happened is after the Podesta emails came out and people like myself started noticing that they were using pizza in a context that doesn't apply to food, and that it was also a pedophile code word, they started scrubbing this stuff from the internet. And then what the media did is they then twisted what Pizzagate is. They never mentioned the Podesta emails. They made it seem that Pizzagate was only about Comet ping pong in a basement, and Hillary Clinton is allegedly trafficking kids from the basement of this pizza shop. And
the
that's
New
never
York
what
Times, this is a key now, and we just learned this week. We knew the first part years ago. CNN, they focused on 4chan. They all focused on the disinfo about that there. They made a story, then turned around and said that I did, and claimed a man came and attacked for me, which wasn't true. But they couldn't sue me for that because they knew it wasn't true, though they talked about doing it. And now we learn that Epstein was working closely with the individuals at 4chan and 8chan in the emails for years, putting out disinfo. Pretty powerful.
Absolutely. So back to the email that you were talking about. So there were, a bunch of emails that reference pizza, like I'm going to get pizza for an hour, or, pizza related map, just a lot of pizza references that did not apply to food. But the email that you just mentioned, so this email was sent by a woman named Tamara Lozado. Now, she was the former chief of staff for Hillary Clinton. She sent it to John Podesta. Now, she talks about sending children, 3 children, to an adult pool party for entertainment. Now, one thing I want to point out about this email is that if you look at the email, you'll see that they list the children's ages. And so what I want to inform people is that when you're trafficking children, the clients have age preferences. So when they're trafficking children and communicating about trafficking children, they often list the ages because, like I said, clients have different age preferences. And this is important to note because in some of the emails that have come out from the Jeffrey Epstein files that were released Friday, there are some emails where children's ages are like randomly listed. And so it's just something to remember. Okay, so she sends this email about sending the kids for entertainment for a pool party that John Podesta is going to. But here's where it gets way more dark. This woman was running a password protected website called Evie's Crib. This website had all the markers of being a child porn site. And on that site, she advertised that people could pay to see infants raw and uncut. Furthermore, some of the children that you could view on this password protected website, which no longer exists, by the way, their names matched up with the names of the kids in that email.
Unbelievable. And now we have the new ones where like, oh, this pizza's glowing and happy and wants to have a great time. Right. And then all these sick photos. And then you've got the deputy head of the Clinton Foundation caught and convicted trying to smuggle little kids out of Haiti. And then she changes her name and becomes the head of Amber Alerts. I mean, it just goes on and on.
Right. And just so what you're seeing right now, that is Evie's Crib. That is the website that she was running. And if you zoom in here, I don't have my glasses on. You can, Evelyn will be the queen of the world. Somewhere on here, it says you can view infants raw and uncut. But then if you scroll down, you'll see that there's all these tabs. And these are the kind of tabs that you see on porn websites. So
and you can see it's the faces of children, obviously making sexual faces. So you click it and then you get to see the deed.
Right. And so what people have to understand is that when you look at Pizzagate, you have to look at all the pieces to understand that, yes, they indeed are rape, torturing, and trafficking children. So they're using a known pedophile code word, which, by the way, has been confirmed by the DOJ, tons of police departments, the FBI. So this is not a conspiracy theory. Pizza is 100% a confirmed pedophile code word. So they're using pedophile code words, number one. And then you have people using these pedophile code words running what appear to be, password protected child porn sites. And then you look into the other emails and you find out, oh, they're attending spear cooking dinner. So let me do a Google search and see what spear cooking dinners are. And then you realize that their spear cooking dinners are literal satanic rituals where they do a ritual involving blood, semen, and breast milk. And then they cut their finger, they drink the blood, and they do this with satanic witch Marina Abramovic. And at these dinners, they're cannibal themed. And then, as you mentioned earlier, then you look at all the connections between, Podesta, Hillary Clinton, and trafficking, like Laura Silsby, the trafficking with the Clinton Foundation, their ties to Epstein. And then you take it a step further and you look at their art. You look at John Podesta's art. You look at Tony Podesta's art. Well, what kind of art did they have in their homes? They had pedophilic art all over the home. Tony Podesta had pedophile art all over his home. John Podesta had cannibalism art depicted in his Hillary Clinton campaign office. Yeah. Now this sculpture, the gold sculpture, that is supposed to be mocking one of Jeffrey Dahmer's victims that was beheaded. But then the other ones, the other paintings are the pedophile art. Yeah. So when you add all these pieces up together, it's just, you can't deny that these people are clearly involved in rape, torture, and trafficking children. So.
And you have that 2007 magazine put out by the Washington Post about, radical, dangerous art. And it's showing what looks like 4-year-old kids tied up, wearing red shoes, paddled with their butts red in what looks like torture dungeons. I can show you an overhead shot of here. And then you've got like demons having sex with kids. But this is what they put out in the Washington Post. And, babies being cut up, eating all this stuff, children in chairs tied up, all this stuff. I mean, and then you've got the very people wearing the red shoes. What's the red shoes mean?
Well, the red shoes allegedly is made from the skin of infants and babies.
Wow.
So, and then a lot of these Hillary Clinton associates, by the way, they openly promote pedophilia on their social media pages. There's a bunch of them, tied to Hillary Clinton or the people that were working at or involved in Balenciaga. Like that art you see, there's a lot of them that would literally just post pictures of kids in satanic rituals or kids tied up all over their social media pages. And then you look further and you look at some of their celebrity friends like Chrissy Teigen, who openly promoted pedophilia on, back then it was Twitter, on Twitter, and dozens of tweets for years, just openly promoting pedophilia. And there's a ton of other celebrities that have done the same thing. Patton Oswalt, James Gunn. I mean, these people have not hidden who they are or what they're doing. They have flaunted it. They have thrown it in our faces for years.
And let's be clear, but back at Pizzagate time, we had official, we show these FBI manuals saying this means that, this means this,
Yes.
pizza means this means that. And then they're using those very codes in the WikiLeaks and in these new emails that they're old but just came out. It's all right there.
So if you look at this FBI memo with you saw the swirl and the triangle within the triangle, those are FBI identified pedophile symbols, logos. So when you look at some of their businesses, their nonprofits, or just again, back to their social media, on their social media pages, you will see these people flaunt these images all the time. Jimmy Kimmel actually did a skit on his show where he had that FBI identified pedophile symbol in a skit about pizza being delivered. So they're not hiding it, Alex. They haven't hid it. Yeah, here we go.
I mean, let's be clear. If somebody, I learned about this 20 years ago, has an upside down pineapple on their mailbox or on their door, or a woman's wearing that around her neck, at a resort anywhere. And the reason I learned about this was probably 20 years ago. I'm in Cancun, a decent, nice resort. And this guy and his wife come over, and they're saying, hey, you guys like pineapple and stuff. And I didn't know what it meant. And she was wearing an upside-down pineapple deal. I later looked it up. I was like, oh, they wanted to swing. And we were like, wow, pineapple? Yeah. What? And now, well, that's a huge thing. Most people, I guess, know about. So that's for adults, though. So it's the same thing. Like the upside-down pineapple is a symbol that we swing. These symbols are we rape kids.
Yeah, and they flaunt it. I mean, and here's another thing. So the whole mainstream media covered this up, as you know. The entire mainstream media covered this up. They said
and they picked me to say that I put it out. I just covered CNN reporting on 4chan and 8chan that we now know are working with Jeffrey Epstein in the new emails.
Right. Well, what happened to CNN? They had multiple producers get arrested for attempting to rape children and or child porn. There has been actually several mainstream media journalists or producers or editors that have been arrested for pedophilia since 2016. And all of them worked for networks or publications that said Pizzagate is a hoax. And there was one reporter in particular, my favorite, who mocked Pizzagate, and he called himself Dr. Pizza. His Twitter handle was Dr. Pizza. And
remember, there's also been sex ed teachers famously in schools around the country that teach sex ed that's all about pizza parties. And look at this, former ABC investigative journalist pleads guilty to child pornography charges. He was the guy out debunking it all.
Yeah, he actually has his byline on a story that fully says Pizzagate is a debunked conspiracy theory. And he worked for ABC, and that's the same network that covered up for Jeffrey Epstein. And, you know, scratch the Amy Robach's report.
So were you having flashbacks when all these new emails came out? So many new ones are coming out. I'm getting new ones right now where it's Jeffrey Epstein. Clearly they're delivering children. Clearly, oh my! Some of the people are like, wow, I'm seeing shadows and scared. I'm not coming again. They're like, well, this isn't for everybody. Ha ha ha. So you've also got people like, whoa, I shouldn't have done this. Others are like, oh, that was so great. Can we do it again?
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, it's very traumatizing to read this stuff. I mean, it's hard to read this and not be traumatized, not have PTSD. And I've been doing this for so long. I've been able to do this for so long, though, because I learned to train my brain to just completely shut off emotions while I'm researching it. And if I didn't teach myself how to do that, I wouldn't be able to cover this for so long.
Yeah, that's what surgeons do. You've got to be, like the Buddhists say,
exactly.
Basically detached.
So, you know, obviously I'm happy that this is getting exposure. I'm happy the truth is finally coming out, because I don't believe we'll ever see justice unless this hit critical mass. Now it's hitting critical mass. So obviously I'm happy it's coming out because I believe it will lead to justice. With that being said, the Epstein files that have come out, in my opinion, are 100 times worse than the Podesta emails. And the Podesta emails were horrendous. They were bad. But with these Epstein files, the millions of pages that have been released, this confirms a whole new level of evil and darkness. So we are going beyond.
By the way, let me stop you and give me the floor. And our next guest isn't on for an hour. Can you do another hour with us?
Yeah.
All right, you're great. You got to come back.
Another hour I can do. Sure.
Great. Till 1:30 Central. Okay. Another hour, okay? Because I want to give you the floor. I want you to start over, because I said this myself on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and you mainly focus on this. You're more of an expert on this than I am, and I'm obviously a leading expert studying it, being educated by Ted Gunderson and others 30 plus years ago. But what you just said is what I got from this, and more is coming out because it overlays perfectly. It connects to the same people. It's more confirmation, and now because there's so much attention on it, they're gonna be able to run the same trick they ran of distracting to the pizza place. Absolutely, this is 100 times bigger. In that now the public's awake. There's no way to hide it no matter what they do now. This isn't going away. I mean, this is so seismic, and I'll say it again. I'm not defending Bondi or Blanche, who I can't stand and think are evil operatives. Were they lazy? Were they stupid because there were all these millions of files? Maybe they're not in on it, so they don't know the code words and stuff? Because they released all of this, and I agree. I mean, they're devastated. Sorry, I'm going to start over, but why do you say it's 100 times bigger? I totally agree. I mean, when I started seeing this weekend, my heart was actually, which just never happens. I'm pretty, like you say, detached as well. I just cover it. I mean, I get emotional personally, but when I'm doing it, I'm just researching it. I literally was like, whoa. I mean, the magnitude was hitting me of this is insanely huge.
Right, because the Podesta emails, in my opinion, confirm the pedophilia and it confirmed the child sex trafficking. These emails confirm child sacrifice, murder, the cloning, the Dr. Mengele kind of experiments, the DNA experiments, the baby breeding, MK Ultra, so this confirms, I think there's a bunch of topics that go under Pizzagate, which would be everything that I just said. But these emails validate that all that other stuff is real too, whereas the Podesta emails didn't necessarily.
Well, it's incredible. I used to be in a few movies and be in some TV shows. Hollywood tried to get me in, and not really the bad guys, because Rick Linklater's not part of Hollywood and doesn't like him and likes me, but then the others kind of tried to recruit me in, and they weren't really bad, but they were like, oh no, it's true. Here's the factions. And they told me the 4 or 5 factions, and they said the Chinese are more and more a big faction. But they said, no, it really is a big Satanism faction. And they told me they got groups that brainwash women, drug them, don't give them enough food, they brand them. And that wasn't just the Nexium cult, it was others. So I knew about that. They told me about islands, all this stuff. So that was enough. And Gunners didn't said all that too. So, but I was getting it from people that knew about it. They weren't involved, but they were telling me, you got to be careful.
Right there, folks. We're about halfway through, but I wanted to get on and let you know now that when we're talking about folks that maybe you understand that Nickelodeon's logo looks a lot like Jeffrey Epstein's island. And you do understand that the Cinderella's castle at Walt Disney World has those same blue stripes through it on their movie productions. But let's go over some, not people that knew Jeffrey Epstein. Everybody wanted to know Jeffrey Epstein because they obviously, not all of them, would know what he was doing. But let's go to the ones who we actually know, and there's too many long list. You probably don't know the financiers or the bankers or the insurance executives, but you're going to know a lot of these folks. So these are folks that actually not only knew him, but actually went to his island. So let's go over here first of all and just go with Al Gore, Alan Dershowitz. That's Harvard's business schools dude. Alec Baldwin, you would know. Anderson Cooper, you would know. Angelina Jolie, you would know. Barack Obama, Ben Affleck, Bernie Sanders, Beyonce, Bill Clinton, Bill Gates, Bruce Willis, Celine Dion, Charles Barkley, Charlie Sheen, Cher, Chris Tucker. We got Cyndi Lauper, Courtney Cox, Courtney Love, Demi Moore, David Spade, Donovan Mitchell. There's a great basketball player. Drew Barrymore. We're going to go with Ellen DeGeneres. And let's go to the second column. George Clooney, Ghislaine Maxwell. We got Gwen Stefani here. Heidi Klum, Hillary Clinton, James Franco. Let's go to Jim Carrey, Jimmy Kimmel, Joe Biden, John Cusack, John Podesta, John Travolta. That's the Podesta files they're talking about with the 7, 9, 11-year-olds being delivered to the hot tub out in the country estate. John Cusack, John Podesta, Justin Trudeau, Katy Perry, Kathy Griffin, Kevin Spacey, Lady Gaga with her red shoes at Super Bowl. You got Lisa Summers, Madonna, Mandy Ellison. Then you got Eminem, Meryl Streep, Michelle Obama, Michael Wolff, Miley Cyrus. Let's go with Naomi Campbell, Naomi Watts, Oprah, Orlando Bloom, Paris Hilton, Prince Andrew, and Prince Charles, Quentin Tarantino, Ralph Ellison, Rihanna, Robert De Niro, Robert Downey Jr., Jay-Z made an appearance, Sophie Trudeau, Steven Spielberg, Steven Tyler, Tom Hanks, and Whoopi Goldberg. Those are some that you would know. So let's go back to the second half now of what I think is very important.
It's great. People really aren't focusing on and I'll show these emails, and there's hundreds of them, and they're trying to focus on side issues, or Trump threatening to sue Michael Wolff because they admit in there Trump's innocent, but they're going to try to set him up. Epstein says, yeah, he's the guy that dropped the dime on me 18 years ago, which we now know. Why then would Trump tacitly go along with the DOJ and the attempted cover-up until Congress overrode it? What the hell's going on there?
What's your specific question about President Trump?
I mean, just in general, have you in your research ever connected Trump to any type of child abuse?
No. And let me tell you something. So back in 2015, President Trump announced that he was running, right? In 2016, I started doing election coverage. And I worked for George W. Bush years ago when I was in college on his campaign. So, I've been a conservative my whole life, but, if I probably should have supported Jeb, because I had supported his brother back in the day and worked for him. But I also had known President Trump because I had covered him for years. I covered The Apprentice, and, I got to know him and his family a little bit.
We forget you were a big media producer, you name it. You sacrificed all that to tell the truth. And that's a whole other story, what you've gone through.
Yes. So, so I had covered Trump, but I wasn't like this Trump super fan or anything. And part of the reason why I got back into covering hard news, specifically the election, is because I knew they were just blatantly lying about him, and it disgusted me. It really frustrated me how much they were lying about him, and I really liked what he was saying, and I became, a huge supporter of him pretty much from the beginning when when he announced he was going to run. And so I got back into mainstream media journalism to tell the truth about him and cover the election. And, and then, of course, the Podesta emails came out. But getting closer to the election in 2016, they started to launch all of these attacks against him. And a lot of them were fake sexual assault claims. And before the Podesta emails came out, by the way, I was the survivor of a sexual assault that almost killed me. And I had been doing advocacy work for sex crime victims. So, I'm very passionate about this.
So I was going to ask you, what was your entry into this labyrinth? It was personal.
Very personal, and it kind of goes deep. But so any allegation that came out, I investigated every single one, and I was able to debunk every single one. None of them were true. So I could see what they were doing. They were accusing him of what they're doing, and they launched all these attacks against them. They had some people, make fake allegations against them. Many of them got paid. Many of them.
By the way, the fake Jane Does. By the way, if he was, I investigated him too before I endorsed him, and it was already an expert, so I knew it was accurate that he was not bad. Now I get attacked because I'm trying to focus on confirmed cannibalism, Satanism, Epstein, delivering children. And then I post it. I'm like, oh, you're a traitor. You're covering up for Trump. That's the psyop they're running now.
Exactly. And that's all they have. And let me tell you something. If any of those allegations were true, I never would have supported him. I don't care what political.
Well, we have all the victims never even seeing him other than Virginia Giuffre. And Epstein hired her out of his building out of Mar-a-Lago, and Trump kicked him out over that.
Right. It was Ghislaine Maxwell. She hunted Virginia Giuffre down at Mar-a-Lago. And so she got recruited by Ghislaine Maxwell at Mar-a-Lago, and then Trump kicked him out. And then he proceeded to be the only person in his entire black book that worked with the lawyers for the victims.
No, I know. So the paradox is then Trump ham-fistedly, oh, it's all a hoax, end it. Later he clarified, because Roger talked to him, no, you mean, sir, you're not involved. That's the hoax. Yeah, he's bad, but I'm not. Why then has Trump been like, why is he saying move on then?
Well, I think that, Trump's always is very strategic with optics, right? And I believe that he's strategically distancing himself from this, because when there are arrests, and I am very confident there will be arrests, Alex, he wants to be as far removed from this as possible. And they also need the public behind this, because if that doesn't happen, then they're going to do Trump's a dictator. Trump's just arresting his political opponents. And so I think that he's strategically distancing himself and trying not to comment on it too much. And he did clarify the Epstein hoax thing, and he was specifically talking about how the Democrats faked evidence and, in the files, like the stupid birthday card, that they made up and claimed that, Trump sent that to Epstein, which wasn't real. He was talking about that. He wasn't talking about the real evidence and information, which is what we're seeing. But, people that are that don't think that he wants to pursue justice for these victims. He's been working on this for 2 decades. We saw Epstein get arrested during his first term because Trump won. Obviously, that never would have happened if Hillary had won. And, do you really think that they're going to release millions of pages of evidence of them doing the most horrific things to children and all of these victims, the trafficking, the experiments, the murders, like the sacrifices, the satanic rituals? You really think they're going to get the whole public worked up to just not do anything? And people forget that there's a bunch of secret grand jury hearings happening right now, one in Fort Pierce, Florida. And then what's going on with the Clintons? Well, they were about to be held in contempt, and they were freaking out all weekend long because I think they started realizing, oh, wow, we actually may go to jail, because if they are held in contempt and it goes to the DOJ, they can be thrown in jail for a year. And so now we have Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton agreeing to testify. But here's something else that's in play that's going to come out, in my opinion. What is just as bad, or actually probably worse, believe it or not, than these Epstein files? Well, the evidence and the information on the Anthony Weiner laptop. The contents on the Anthony Weiner laptop prove that Hillary Clinton and associates were involved in the rape, torture, and trafficking of children. And there are videos on that laptop of them torturing children, trafficking children that are supposed to be horrific. And I know you know the story, the NYPD.
Yeah, but let's repeat it. How many officers, I remember like 10 of the 12 that saw it, and I talked before they even killed him, 2 investigators, and they said people were vomiting. They said this laptop was the control thing. It was actually watching powerful people rape and kill kids and eat them, drink their blood, which is now in the emails with Epstein saying, yeah, we're going to eat these kids. I mean, folks, exactly. And so and then who's Uma Abedin married to? Now it's Alexander Soros. Who is she married to? Weiner. So, and who is over that? Chuck Schumer. And again, New York. I mean, my God. So again, the real Epstein is Schumer.
Yeah. And so that's huge. And people don't know that Senator Grassley requested all the evidence, and he was supposed to get it delivered by December 28th. So I believe that he's working on that disclosure. And I do believe that disclosure will happen. And
by the way, Grassley has been releasing the cover-up of the laptop, the cover-up of Hunter Biden's laptop. He has been releasing the Crossfire Hurricane, the Arctic Frost. He actually has been doing it. The problem is it goes nowhere because of Todd Blanche.
That's true. Well, when Comey got indicted, that was thrown out. But his indictment is tied to Comey covering up Hillary Clinton's emails and also covering up the contents that was on the Anthony Weiner laptop, because the NYPD had that case and they were ready to make arrests on that.
Yeah, I forget the number. How many? I think like 12 saw it. How many were dead? Almost all of them got killed.
I think it was 12, and they all died in suspicious deaths.
That's right. They all died. Sorry. Okay. All died. Yeah.
I think all of them, unfortunately. Well, 12. So that's a lot.
Yeah. I was going to remember. Yeah, because it was 10. Then it was the last 2 that got killed too. Just like AFD is now like 50 AFD members in Germany. They're about to win. They all been killed in the last year. Well, it's 20.
And one more thing I want to add about the Anthony Weiner laptop. So for anyone out there that still wants to say, oh, this is not true, it's a conspiracy theory, blah, blah, blah. In 2018, the Inspector General's report cited that there was evidence found on Anthony Weiner's laptop proving that Hillary Clinton and Foundation, it specifically said the Foundation, meaning the Clinton Foundation, and crimes against children. So this was on the Inspector General's report that came out in 2018. It validated what I and you were talking about in 2016 in terms of what the NYPD found on that laptop. So this is not like a conspiracy theory. This is very real, and it's been documented in official government records.
And again, that was Hillary's blackmail laptop.
Well, it was Anthony Weiner's laptop, but what he did is, like, the story is, the rumor has it that Anthony Weiner was mirroring it and everything on it.
Yeah, that's my sources said that it was being transferred to Hillary, and that's what she destroyed with the bleach stuff.
Yeah, with when she destroyed all of her phones and then she bleach bit everything, and she wiped everything, and she was like wiped it with a cloth. But the rumor is that Anthony Weiner was mirroring everything. He got all the evidence on his laptop, and he had kept it in a file called life insurance. Well, why would he do that? Well, I'm sure he's fully aware that his wife is working for someone that loves to murder everyone or anyone that steps out of line. So I think that he was holding that as literal life insurance for himself.
Absolutely.
But that's my opinion.
Well, yeah, and we know Uman Abedin was to work for Hillary. I mean, it's all one group.
Yes, and there's supposed to be horrific images and or videos of her, allegedly committing crimes against children as well. So
yeah, Senator that's what the cops said. Is they were like, they literally vomited, cried. They said it was just. And I talked to people that talked to the cops that worked in those offices, and then they were all dead.
Well, and before they died, they had to get psychiatric help. Like, they were so traumatized. They had such horrible PTSD from just watching the videos. Like, think about that. Think about how bad they have to be. These are hardened NYPD detectives. They've seen it all. That's how bad it was. Just watching the videos and seeing the images, they were because what I try to tell people, obviously raping and trafficking kids is horrific and it's the most evil thing in the world, but it actually gets worse. And I tell people, watch the Hostel movies. That's the kind of torture stuff that they were doing to their victims and to the children.
Well, remember when the Scorpions drummer or guitarist said, "Oh, there's parties in Germany where we kill people," and the lady said that's not true. And for people who don't know, the Netherlands and Germany, it's like probably the headquarters of that. Exactly.
Yeah,
so like 14-year-old girls, people say, "Oh, you're lessening it." No. That's the marijuana. That's the gateway drug. And it's terrible. But he goes to torturing babies.
Right. And Todd Blanche, at his press conference, when he was talking about releasing the Epstein files, he said that they had to redact any images or videos of murder. So that suggests that there are snuff videos that were in the files. I mean, think about that.
You go to X. I meant to have that clip today. You guys, just go to X. I want to show this. Todd Blanche says, "We are redacting any images of torture, or murder." So again, just imagine the magnitude of this.
Exactly. So, it'll be interesting to see what happens, but, it'll be interesting to see. So allegedly the Hillary and Bill Clinton are going to come in and they're going to testify about Epstein. And I imagine if they do end up coming in, it'll be ridiculous. It'll be another what's the definition of is type of answers. But with that being said, the fact that Senator Grassley has all that evidence with Anthony Weiner's laptop, I do think that we're going to be getting disclosure on that. And that I think is even more damning and devastating than what we're seeing in.
Well, the public is so angry, they're not going to buy any of it. And so Trump's handling of this, saying, "Oh, it's a hoax," and later clarifying, "No, I mean, I'm not in it. It's a hoax." Fine. He's being sabotaged internally. I mean, from what I've seen, this has hurt the administration, which is sad because they're not involved in it other than elements of it, obviously, want to protect the establishment. So by extension, he becomes, after the fact, somewhat of an accomplice. I'm not saying fully. What do you think Trump should do?
Well, okay, but here's a working theory I've had for years on why President does some of the things he does in terms of the Epstein investigation. So remember back when Epstein was arrested, his first term, I always knew that Trump was going to go after Epstein and that whole ring before he even won. And because
it was Trump that first dropped the dime 18 years ago and put him in jail then.
Right. I know that.
But it's weird. Trump never takes credit for that. But I knew that when I first endorsed him 10 years ago from my sources and even the news. And then now it's all confirmed by Wolf talking to Epstein. So why doesn't Trump take credit?
Well, he has before. He has. But he just tries to stay away from talking about it. But here's something that's interesting. I believe that he strategically appointed Alex Acosta to his administration the first term, knowing that he gave Epstein the sweetheart deal, because he also knew the entire mainstream media, which you know more than anyone, is compromised. So Trump knew that the only way, he knew he was going to take down Epstein, in my opinion. So the only way that he'd be able to get the mainstream media to cover Epstein was to appoint someone like Acosta. Because if they can tie it to Trump, they cover it. And so I think a lot of what he says about Epstein, he's baiting the media and he's baiting Democrats to talk about it. Trump is in the clear, so I don't think he cares if he's getting accused of being in the files or this or that, because he will be vindicated.
Okay, let me stop you. Let me stop you then. And I said this yesterday. People flipped out over it. Q people said Trump is setting them up to release it, and then it's going to burn them because the average Democrat's not involved. They don't know. They did it. That actually is one of the few things the Q people ever said that came true. My issue was I knew who the Q thing was. They saw how I got in trouble putting out the WikiLeaks. It was in the White House, a senior person in a mid-level. These are household names now. They're not, one of them's not mid-level now. And they said, hey, we saw you get in trouble. We got a way to put out this stuff to get them. And they don't know where it came from, and we want to have you involved. So I literally they tried. I said, I'm not doing that. I'm not getting involved. I'm never involved with anybody else. I do my own thing. They said, that's fine. But I was sworn to secrecy on it. Then they later go, oh, God, you're right. About a year later, it's been taken away from us. Now we're abandoning it. They've twisted it all. The bad guys have it. So I knew that, and I tell the Q people, they go, oh, yeah, right. Like, who are you, Alex Jones? Like, who are you? No. And then now Trump's doing pro-Q stuff. Maybe they've got back control of it. But that's what it is a way to. But then you've got 4chan, 8chan now caught with Epstein putting out disinfo. You see my point? But I have to hand it to the Q people. They were right about this.
Well, President Trump is Q+. You just showed that image and he's showing that he's Q+. But, President Trump has confirmed that he's part of Q since his first term. Ann would ask him to do certain things and he would do it. And Ann actually asked him to say the phrase tippy top. And then he said it next to a rabbit. And you and I both know what the symbolism of the rabbits are. So.
No, I know, but I'm telling you, Liz, this is like all my children. I know it was the White House. I know he just got elected. He was president-elect. People came down to visit me. They said, we got a way to put this out but not get everybody sued. Do you want to? And I'm like, well, I'm not going to join the group, but okay. Then later, like, oh, actually, the Democrats somehow were getting involved. Now we know it was Epstein had got involved with 4chan and 8chan.
All right, guys, I can only tell you that when I had that vision on June 24, 2023, and I talked to the audience at my mother's funeral on July the 12th, 2023, I told them we had to protect Israel, and we had to protect the unborn and the born children. Because what you're seeing there goes all the way to the top. As far as it can go, it is the synagogue of Satan. And there will come a time they've been given over. And they will burn in hell. But in Mark, my Lord tells them, and whosoever shall offend one of these little ones that believe in me, it is better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck and were cast into the sea. Mark 9:42. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what they're doing to children. 2,400 a day. They're moving. Heads of Amber Alerts. Evie's Crib. These nonprofits, I've told you about them for 5 months. Kicked out of Haiti. It's amazing. We're going to move on now, as our program's going to run long, but I hope you paid attention to the most credible sources out there that are going to give you accurate information, that because you're not going to get it from any of your news outlets. But this is even more interesting to you now that we'll move on to our artificial shrimp.
Do you know this truth about shrimp you eat? Your shrimp never grew as real shrimp. They're made in small workshops, 1 minute each. Watch the process. You may never eat shrimp again. First, workers use 1 real shrimp mold. Don't think that shrimp is wasted or special. That single shrimp gets reused again and again. Honestly, it's the only real thing inside. Every mold copies the shrimp 1-to-1. Exact size, exact shape. Nothing is changed. Even the back cut removing the vein is copied. The details look real beyond human judgment. If nobody tells you, you'll never notice. There is absolutely no visible difference. Once the mold is finished, mixing begins. Starch, gelatin, and meat powder get poured inside. The ratios are carefully adjusted every time, so you won't feel sick after eating it. You'll only think it tastes fresh and bouncy. Next, the entire mold goes into an oven. Just a few minutes inside the heat, all ingredients fuse into a shrimp shape. It no longer looks like real food. It looks more like industrial material instead. Then workers spray edible food coloring on top, making it look freshly peeled and raw. The color alone convinces most consumers instantly. Here's the scary part most people miss. In 1 minute, they can copy countless shrimp. Fake shrimp gets mass-produced without limits. These shrimp then enter normal processing lines. They pass steps designed to look completely legitimate. After that, they enter restaurants openly, or get sold directly in seafood markets, because the texture is even more bouncy. Many people actually prefer these shrimp now, but you'll never truly know the truth. The shrimp you eat isn't from the ocean. It's just a copy of one real shrimp.
There you go, right there. Artificial foods, artificial colorings, meat, potatoes, vegetables, fruits, everything. Make it look just perfect. And by the way, it tastes phenomenal. They're selling Wagyu steaks for $275 a plate. And they're not Wagyu. They just taste so good, though. Just like it, the marbling's beautiful on them. See, what your FDA has done to you on your food and what your CDC's done to you on the vaccinations, it's amazing that we're not sicker than we are, and we're sicker than we've ever been. But here's a guy here that's just as got enough money, is got enough power, and it's just crazy. You add those three things together, and you're finding he's a dangerous man.
Bill Gates and Albert Bourla, they were ordered to show up to a Dutch court for lying about mRNA injections. And so there's that case. And then, we recently reported the American Academy of Pediatrics is being sued for running a racketeering operation on the childhood vaccines. And so they're facing a federal RICO lawsuit. So, yeah, there are some positive steps happening.
There you go, right there. You got a country wanting to see Mr. Gates. I wonder if he'll go into there. I wonder what kind of, he's tight with the United Nations, pretty tight with those folks. He's handling a lot of their vaccinations because he tells them before it happens when it's going to happen and what it's going to be. He's kind of a visionary in that situation. See, so we're going to continue to deal with the artificial shrimp. I've been knowing that they've had artificial crab meat for many years. But I didn't know they had eggs. That bothered me. I didn't know they had fruits, avocados, mangoes. Boy, I tell you, unbelievable the flavoring that they have, which is nothing more than chemicals, artificial chemicals that are crushing your body as it tastes so good. The nation of Israel. My Lord scattered them several times. Daniel and Ezekiel back in 600 BC, they're in Babylon captivity. He's spread them out all over because they continue to do wrong. And after World War II, he brought them back together with Ezekiel's dry bones, and it came back to life. And now Jerusalem's not going away again. And that's why the United States is going to be so, still so strong, even though all of this stuff is going on with the highest levels. It's amazing. It's real. It's disturbing, and I don't know how you can even look at that and think how you could have any trust or belief in anything that's going on. The deception is amazing to me, and everybody's so busy. Nobody's paying attention unless it's their child. The nation of Israel had a 1967 war, expanded their borders. My Lord loves that land. You have to remember that the whole country, the whole world is going to come against the Jews. Very scriptural. They're going to try to eliminate the Jews. They're going to kill the Jews and the Christians in the name of Jesus. If you are serving your Lord Jesus Christ, they're going to try to eradicate you, just like Hitler did with the Jews, just like your Chinese and your Russian folks have done for 60 and 70 million folks, or like your Holy War when you had Jews killing all the Christians when they were early, and then you had all the Catholics killing all the Christians and the Jews. There's nobody out there, no race, no color, no creed, no denomination. Most of you guys' denominations were in the 1700s, so y'all weren't around for all this other stuff. But you are still connected with the folks you're going to have to come out of to begin with, because you all came out of one. In Revelations 18:2, it says you're going to come out of them. You're going to be one body of Christ. Well, that'll be fun. Maybe they'll stop fighting and start preparing and helping one another. Because you got folks in America trying to hurt you. You got all kinds of socialist, communist, Islamic jihads going to sleeper cells everywhere, just waiting for the right moment. I told folks 2 weeks ago they're not going to do anything with Iran until they get through with the Super Bowl. Now, once they get through with the Super Bowl, they'll use that whole 2 weeks. Once that Super Bowl's over, they'll have their information that they've had for the 2 weeks, but they'll release it, and they'll move right in there and do what they need to do. How long that'll take, how successful it is, but it will happen. I can assure you. Whether I hope it's next year, but I got a feeling it's next week. So I hope we put things off and this just keeps going slower and slower and slower while we can get more and more prepared. But the nation of Israel is not going away. And the Jews are going to be hated by everyone. And the Christians are going to be hated by everyone around the world. And Christians are going to be killing Christians in the name of Jesus. That's deception. That's uncertainty. I've seen it. You are going to have it. So instead of trying to keep it from happening, let's prepare for what's going to happen. Because we've got a sixth trumpet war, a World War III. We've got an Antichrist standing in a third temple for 3.5 years, the wrath of Satan. And then we've got my Lord coming back. So whether that's 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, it ain't going to be. Just remember, we're going to have a timeline. We're going to nail it down pretty dadgum close as soon as they sign that two-state solution temporary peace plan. And we're going to narrow it down closer when he stands in that rebuilt temple and stops those daily sacrifices. And we're going to really be close when those two witnesses are laying in the street dead for 3.5 days. Because when they're resurrected, when they go up to meet my Lord, the next verse is our rapture. Immediately after the tribulation. I do appreciate you guys tuning in to Night with Phee. I know the clip was long, but I don't apologize for good information because I've got a coach. And these people are credible. They've got staffs, 30, 40 staffs. Their annual income is $300, $400 million a year, right at $300 or $30 million a month. Legit folks that have been in the business for 30 years. And they're a little behind Phee, but they've got credibility. So thank you guys for tuning in to Night with Phee. I do appreciate it. And remember, no matter what you're doing, you're missing something. So let's make what we're doing worth what we're missing. And Night said to cricket, Night said to whale. Night crazy boy, night crazy girl, only time will tell. Only time will tell, guys. God bless you. Night.
Night with Phee, where the answers might be. A breeze of wisdom drifts across the shore. Stories unravel like seashells to explore.